And so the disciples didn't get it either. Look what they said here. He says to them, hear all who understand to the crowd. There's nothing outside, in verse 15, that by going into a person can defile him, but the things that come out of someone are what defile him. And in verse 17, he enters into a house, he left the people, and the disciples asked him about what he just said, and he said to them, then you are also without understanding. Do you not see that whatever goes into someone from outside cannot defile them? Since it enters not his heart, but his stomach, and is expelled. And in verse 20, he says, it's from the outside the person that defiles him. And for from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these things come from within, and they defile a person. He says, disciples, you need to learn, you need to see, you need to hear this yourselves. It would be a sad thing if we were to call ourselves Christians and not learn from Christ. And he's telling them, he says, it's not what goes on the outside. Where's our heart this morning? And so he says the list. He says the following. So the heart comes evil thoughts. What's meant by evil thoughts is thoughts that are not of him. Thoughts that are unholy. Thoughts that come from within ourselves. Thoughts of revenge. Thoughts of get even. Thoughts of how we can figure things out and do things for ourselves. He says that what comes from the heart, what defiles a person is when their heart is spewing out, is leaking out, is venting out, is kicking out these evil thoughts. When the thoughts inside of us are not holy and connected to the Lord, he says those are evil thoughts, and he says that's coming from a heart that is contaminated by the things of the world. But not just evil thoughts. He says it's also sexual immorality. That is, this idea of being enslaved to things that are of sexual nature, that is, of those who are controlled by things of a sexual nature and not of a holy nature. He says sexual immorality, things that are against the body, he says it's coming from the heart. It is not a matter of physical need. It's a matter of our heart condition before the Lord. Oh, I got quiet in here. Theft, stealing, taking what does not belong to us, it's a matter of the heart. They're good pens. Everybody else in the office has 2 or 3 at their house already. Theft is a matter of the heart. Murder. That is the desire and the carrying out of harming and hurting those that belong to God. All people belong to God. Adultery. That is being in a committed, married, devoted relationship with your husband or your wife and going outside of that relationship. That's called adultery, and it's a matter of the heart. It's not a matter of the condition of the marriage. It's a matter of the condition of the hearts of the people in the marriage. This is coveting, desiring, wanting things that don't belong to us, wickedness, this desire to do wrong and to have and to hold for ourselves, wickedness, deceit, sensuality. This idea of envy, of jealousy, of taking things and wanting things and desiring things, envying things that people have, envying the things of the world, and slander, speaking against people, an evil tongue, assigning status of who they are and what they are. That's slander. Here's a good one, pride. Being more steeped up in ourselves and our own strength and what we're able to do and work with our own hands. He says all these things are matters of the heart. And then he says foolishness. Being foolish is not a matter of being subjective. It's not to say, well, that's foolish. look at someone's actions, look at someone's deeds, and to say it is foolish. The idea of foolishness is someone hearing the word of God, knowing the truth of God, and then deciding to go in their own way, to do it in their own thinking. That's foolish. If you know that the word of God says a thing, and you determine to do it another way, that's foolishness. So this is not a subjective thought where I can look at something and say, well, that's foolish, that's silly, that's weird, I wouldn't do it that way. That's not what we're talking about by foolishness. We're talking about hearing the word of God, knowing the standard of God, and then willingly not living according to the standard of God. That's foolishness.